Now, X Factor phenomenon Alexandra Burke revealed in a recent interview that she was advised by Judge Sherrie that for the time being there should be no boyfriends, no nothing, just concentrate on work. So what do you make of that as a piece of advice? Is it easier to forget about love and just focus purely on work? Is that how your career happens?
Well, I think certainly in the early days. I mean, I think that, you know, for example, when she won the X Factor, I think that was very good advice for the sort of first year. I kind of have always officially been in a relationship from very early on, and there's been times in my life when I would have loved to have had more periods of being single, just so that you could have gone away on that national tour of Drop Your Knickers and Cry Murder and other great shows that me and Sherrie did, and not had to worry about the people back home, because it used to sort of take the fun out of going away on the tour, because you were always considering somebody.
You mean you could have dropped your knickers and not cried murder?
Exactly. So yes, I do think it's good advice, but at the same time, I suppose it's like the best of both worlds. If Tim is around, I enjoy it because he's helping me at home and it's nice to have him there. But at the same time, if he say took Louis away for a few days, I can concentrate solely on work, knowing that when I go home I can just relax, learn my lines. So it's a sort of a double-edged sword. And also the other thing is that it's very difficult to say you should just concentrate work and make no time for boyfriends. But if you do meet somebody and fancy that person, it's also very difficult to say, no, I've got to concentrate.
Well, the thing is, though, then you're bringing in an emotion, aren't you? I mean...
Yeah, but you can't just cut that off because somebody said...
No, you can't, but she's a very young girl, and I think
if
you're deciding to take on a career like that, I think you have to be single-minded and just say, right, I'm going for my career. Because you can't start mixing and matching. Because if she meets somebody, she gets emotionally attached and goes, well, which do I do? Do I leave my career? Do I go off with him? And if you haven't got those questions to answer, then it's perfectly all right. You don't have the guilt trip that you've got about, you know, not being home, like we all have, and not being home with children.
Some people who wait until they're 39, 40 still by doing that, and of course they end up with nobody.
But that's their life choice. That's their life choice. You didn't make that life choice. You chose to be married to Tim, be a faithful wife forever.
But then they get to that age.
I didn't say a word.
Then they get to that. I'm going to punch you in a minute. Then they get to that age at 39, and then realise. I'm not saying that it's not a life choice for some people, but people have just put their careers ahead of marriage and children. Sometimes get
Sherrie,
to that point,
realise
it's too late.
Because you're kind of at that stage now, at the opposite side, if you like, because you're single for the first time in a very long time. Have you found that it's easier for you to focus on your career?
Yes, I have. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't like to meet somebody and be involved again. Of course I would. None of us want to be on our own. But I spent a whole life of being married and being guilty and chopping work and home and thinking I've got to ring, I've got to be there, the guilt trip of not being there. It didn't matter. My daughter was my life. But the same with my husband. I had to ring him, which I shouldn't have bothered, really. But, you know what I mean? And I had all that...
does that stop, though? I mean, because some people haven't built up a career. I mean, you know, Enrique and I managed to have a long-distance relationship.
But the thing is, though, it's so difficult. It's difficult enough to find the one or the one of the time. As it is. So if they say to her, no, you can't, you've got to concentrate. If she does happen upon somebody and likes them, what if that is the one? And she's saying, no, I can't go there because I'm starting out on my career. I think she should go, and I think there's a way of balancing it.
But you shouldn't have any regrets in life. Regrets are futile.
In that case, then you should do what you want to do at the time and live for now.
But also, you shouldn't get to a certain point in your life and say, if only I'd just given myself a chance. I was in a relationship, I gave up work. Why did I do that? Don't have those regrets either.
But then you have to go by the decisions you make at the time. I know that last year, I was made redundant last year, and I was not working for the first time ever, and it was a real sort of shock to the system. And I was lucky because I didn't have to worry too much with a nice redundancy check about finding a job immediately. But because I wasn't working, and my daughter was at school all day, what did I do? I started to slightly focus, rather unhealthily, on finding a man. And I started doing the internet dating and all of that. And it became a real focus. Slightly unhealthy, as I say. Actually, not that successful either, so clearly I was not very good at it. Now that I'm busy again, I'm working again, and I'm sort of involved here and everything, it's taken a much sort of back step. That doesn't mean, however, punters, that I'm not still looking. Please send all applicants care of Lucy.
But you have had a dalliance, though, haven't you? You did have a dalliance.
I've had a small moment over the summer, but let's not go into this.
There you go.
No, let's not.
Do you think, I mean, it's interesting hearing you all, you know, give your different opinions, because this is something that women are known for being good at multitasking, but apparently, you know, listening to you all, we can't. It's either work or love and relationship, because you've all said at some point you have to choose.
It's the guilt, Andrea. It's the guilt that just comes into it.
I think we can multitask very well, but we still
have to
carry
cope with the
guilt.
Oh.
And that's it.